We are hiking up in ancient volcanoes from millions of years ago.
These used to be a very vibrant underwater world.
Wow, these are crystals, can you believe it?
The views are just so incredible. Food is here. Yes, this is our dinner tonight.
We are here at the Western Desert in Egypt and we are about to start our desert experience.
It is a 2-day, 1-night experience and I can't wait to be sleeping under the stars tonight.
That is going to be the highlight.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Recently, we did a tour of the Sahara Desert in Egypt and we had the time of our lives. Looking back, I think it's probably one of the more amazing experiences we had during our 1-year travel.
So today we're going to share our experiences on this trip. We're going to answer some basic questions such as, is it safe? Is it worth it? Are there animals in the desert? Where do you actually poop in the middle of the night in the desert?
Important questions.
Let's roll with this experience.
It is about 6 a.m. right now and we are walking to the meeting point to hop onto a bus.
So the meeting point happens to be in front of Tahrir Square, which is one of the most important landmarks in Cairo.
There are a lot of tour agencies providing very similar tour packages. We found our tour provider via Facebook, and through Facebook we got their number and we WhatsApp them to find out the rates, the package and everything.
So the only thing that we received was a WhatsApp message from the day before stating where we should meet, and we didn't really have to make a prepayment whatsoever.
Yeah, so to be honest, we did not really know if the tour was going to go on. We were like, okay, I guess I'll trust these WhatsApp messages and I'll be there and you'll be there and we'll do this tour.
We were there at Tahrir Square and we really didn't know whether or not this was legit, considering that the bus driver actually came quite late.
When the minibus arrived, the driver was calling us to enter his minibus, but when we checked the car plate number, it was different from the car plate number that we received via WhatsApp. Number one, the numbers are in Arabic, so we already had a hard time figuring out the symbols. And number two, the symbols did not match, so we were wondering if it was the same guy. But the guy had the same name, so we just took a leap of faith and hopped on.
It was a 6 hours drive into the desert afterwards, and this was going towards the eastern part of the desert. And we were just going to the Egypt section of that. And it took us 6 hours from Cairo.
Fortunately, we had a couple of rest stops along the way. We stopped at a petrol kiosk and we could have a water break, we could get snacks, and we could also use the toilet there.
When we finally arrived, we were in the middle of an oasis. And I never knew how oasis actually looks like, but we suddenly started seeing trees, some civilization. So when we finally got there, we realized that it is a headquarters and there was a briefing. They served us tea, they served us food, and we could put our bags there for safekeeping as well for the night. And there was 30 to 40 people from different tour agencies.
Yeah, and that was also when we had to make payment for our tour. And we also realized then that even though people might be getting the tour via different tour agencies, we will still gather at the same headquarters before heading out.
We later found out after walking around the compounds that it's also a resort where people could stay for the night. And there's a huge courtyard where people can actually dine outdoors in the evenings.
Flowers in the desert, can you imagine? I thought deserts are barren and completely dry and there is no water, but I cannot imagine myself looking at these flowers and thinking that this place is an oasis and there's water in here.
And I've also never seen such a huge chicken in my life.
In the middle of a desert.
Yeah, who would have thought that chickens can survive in deserts?
I'm actually quite excited to ride one of these 4-wheel drives because I've never actually done this before.
And then shortly after, we were introduced to our guide.
This is your guide?
Sorry, your name?
Syed.
Syed.
Yeah.
Syed.
Syed belongs to the Bedouin community, a community that is known for their nomadic lifestyle and deep connection to the land. Many modern Bedouins today live a semi-nomadic or settled lifestyle, and they have found themselves employment in industries such as tourism.
We just had our lunch and now we're about to go on a 4-wheel drive into the desert.
There are actually quite a few things that I didn't expect in the desert. When I see deserts, I keep picturing itself to be these beautiful, stock picture looking, perfect dunes. But when we're actually driving through the highway, it's just flat land.
For me, when I read that we were going to go on a 4-wheel drive, I thought that we would be at the back of an open air jeep holding on to our seats, but actually we were just in a normal car. It's just that that car was a 4-wheel drive. And the car had cracks on the windshield and no license plate and just, for the desert. We were driving on a highway in between two huge pieces of desert, and about 30 minutes in, our driver just turned off the main road onto the off-road, and I had no idea how he knew that was the point to go into the desert. And that was where we arrived at our first destination, the Black Desert.
So the Black Desert used to be filled with hundreds of small little active volcanoes millions of years ago, and when this lava from these volcanoes spread underground and cooled into hard basalt rocks, they actually formed this flat layer called sills. And over time, wind and weather would erode the softer rocks around them, leaving the tough basalt rocks behind. And what we see are these black mounds, and these are the remains of ancient volcanoes with the basalt rocks still sitting at the top.
We arrived at the base of one of the hills, and our guide told us that we had a few minutes to explore the place. We decided that we wanted to climb to the top of that hill, so we were like, okay, let's go. We climbed and climbed and climbed, and then halfway through we realized that it was way too hard to climb to the peak. Either that or we were way too unfit. Anyways, we just stopped in the middle and took a break. And that's when we had our first moments of wow. We looked around, it was the first time we were at a higher vantage point, and we could see all the formations that were around us, and we were just stunned. People have told us that when you get to the Sahara Desert, it will look like you're on Mars. We kind of understood, but we did not know how surreal the experience would be until we saw it for ourselves.
We also headed to a spring in the oasis, and this was near the Bahariya Oasis, and this is one of Egypt's most famous oases.
We are now at our second stop, a spring in the middle of a desert.
The water is probably about room temperature, and it's like a small little pool that they have built on the side where water keeps flowing down, and I think it's being recycled if I'm not wrong.
Subsequently, we also visited another hot spring, but this hot spring was way too hot to dip ourselves in. Unfortunately, we couldn't stay too long at either of the hot springs because there was so much more of the desert that we had to see.
And so we're off again, but this time round we'll be traveling an hour and a half, about 130 kilometers. And then we'll be entering the White Desert National Park. And this is where we got out and caught our glimpse of the stunning quartzite crystal formations.
I've never seen something like this before. It feels like this rock has a lot of long teeth.
There were also so many other crystals surrounding that formation. They were just in between the sand, so whenever you dig the sand up, you could see crystals in the sand.
All these are crystals, can you believe it? Like the crystals at the shop where they sell like one for like $10. They are just everywhere here.
How the entire tour went was like, even though we were in groups of 4 or 5 in a 4x4, the multiple 4x4s would follow roughly the same itinerary and visit the same attractions in the same order. And when we were at the crystalline rock, we were actually one of the last 4x4s to arrive. So when we got there, there were so many people all around. So for us to get like a really nice shot, we had to climb to a high enough vantage point to get a really nice shot.
This is super beautiful, and I think the weather here is just perfect because I do not need any jacket on and it feels so comfortable.
By the way, did you see some of these like clouds in the middle of the desert? Like, can you imagine that there are clouds in the desert? I didn't even believe my eyes when I actually saw that.
Yeah, aren't deserts supposed to be dry?
But we are just mind blown by what we're actually seeing because we never actually lived in the desert before.
At this point in time, we are still at the White Desert National Park. We drove around and we drove up to the top of one of the hills, and from there we could see a panoramic view of many different formations and sand dunes. At that point in time, I thought we were going to go crazy and use the 4x4 to go down like a roller coaster down the hill, but no, it was actually a point for us to get out of the 4x4 and then take in the views.
I keep thinking that we are in the middle of this movie called Dune, starring Timothée Chalamet. It really feels like we are in a sci-fi scene or something like this. There's this towering sandstone cliffs that doesn't even look real at all.
The place is really amazing because there is a viewpoint right over there. After like a 1-minute climb up, we could see a panoramic view of this whole place.
We were told that we were near the Valley of Agabat, which is an ancient riverbed that used to exist millions of years ago. The sandstone cliffs are slowly carved by wind and time into these these smooth surreal shapes, and their shapes will keep changing over time.
After the panoramic view, Syed got us even more excited. We're still in the national park and he brought us deeper into the national park to get us a rush of adrenaline.
This was the part that I was most excited for because we were going to go sandboarding. What we did was to grab the sandboards from the boots of the car and then we walked to the top of the slope, and then one of the guides would use chalk to rub against the back of the sandboard, and he actually told us that was to make the sandboard go down faster. But I didn't want the sandboard to go down that quick because I was kind of scared. But anyways, he did it. I was asked to sit on the sandboard. I grabbed the sides of my sandboard and I just wiggled my way down. It was quite fast. I went down in 4 seconds.
It was fun for me too. I was screaming all the way.
Yeah, climbing up was crazy because imagine when you walk on the sand at the beach, it's already so difficult. But now you have to climb up slope on the sand. It was tiring. I do not know if it was worth the 3 seconds that I did to slide down.
The climb up is very tiring. Going down was fun though.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to a ski slope where there's a ski lift, right?
Yeah.
It took us probably about 3 minutes to actually walk all the way back up.
Unfortunately, we could tell that it was getting a little darker, so we knew that we couldn't slide down or sandboard down more times. But no regrets because I do not want to climb up more than once anyways.
Occasionally on our way to our next location, we'll see a singular tree amongst the white rocks and it's just completely barren in here. Where's the water from? There's actually water right underneath in the bedrock.
And then we arrived.
Now we are at another part of White Desert and look at this view. There are just so many random mounds all around and it's up to our imagination to imagine what the shapes of these are.
Can you imagine that this used to be the home of fishes in the past? This used to be a very vibrant underwater world.
This used to be a seabed about 18 million years ago. Over time, marine sediments like chalk and limestone kind of build up, forming white soft rocks that defines this region today. But as the sea receded, desert winds and thermal expansion causes differential erosion. So this, what we see right in front of us, is an entirely natural phenomenon.
Yeah, what that means is that those structures that we see today might not be there 10 or 15 years later.
And one of the sculptures that was formed was this rabbit, which is also one of the key attractions at White Desert National Park.
Aaron is not convinced that limestone formation looks like a rabbit because he says that the ears are misshapen and they look like a rabbit wearing a chef's hat.
And not far away from the rabbit was another key attraction, and we got to get there before the sun actually sets.
Fortunately.
Yeah, this is the chicken and mushroom attraction.
I think this one is the most famous attraction of the White Desert. Whenever you Google pictures of the White Desert, this is the picture that you see. And we got there right at sunset, so looking at the two structures with the sunset as a backdrop, it was just amazing.
Behind me, as the locals call it, the mushroom and the chicken. I wonder how these two rock formations kind of start meeting each other. Did someone actually carve it? Or is it a natural formation?
You know, chickens have a very important job, and that is to wake the village up every single morning. But one day the chicken felt sick of it and he wanted to get high. So he decided to find some shrooms. And first he started with a small shroom and then a medium shroom, and then he found this mega shroom, and he decided that this is where he wanted to stay forever. The end.
Yeah, the Bedouin guides also have their own sense of humor as well.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Wow. 20 sunset after 20 seconds. Yeah, good.
After the sunset, we drove off to our campsite, and the Bedouin guides just stopped in the middle of nowhere, and that was our campsite.
This is our home for tonight.
There are about 15 people in our group today and about 4 to 5 Bedouin guides, as well as there's another group at the far end. We have been trying to mingle with each other and trying to get to know each other a little bit better throughout the day, and tonight is going to be where we can get to chat with them a little bit more.
I can't wait for tonight. This will be our first time sleeping outdoors in the desert. There are some clouds though, so I'm not really sure if we can see the Milky Way tonight, but fingers crossed.
We set up tents. They even put the 4x4s in an interesting formation so that it could block the wind. And that was where we had our campfire, they were cooking, and we had our dinner there.
We just had to figure out which tent that we wanted for the night.
So that is our room. We have a blanket, we have a sleeping bag, and like a mattress pad.
Like they were whipping up a concoction of different kinds of food.
This is our dinner tonight. Oh no!
They were making soup, they were making rice with couscous, they were making chicken wings, they were making like some form of vegetables, and there was fruits as well on the table, and I'm just impressed by the selection of food that they have over there.
اديني في الهيفا وانا احبك يا فنانس. قال له لو قلت فنانس دي هرفع عليك قضيه. قال له ما تزعلش يا عم اديني في الهيفا وانا احبك يا نانس. Somebody hit me.
There's just something about cooking outdoors without proper cooking equipment that makes the food taste so good.
I was really famished and we just gobbled up the food, and it was such a nice experience sitting together, mingling with the other guests and people who joined the tour with us. Yeah, it was fun. People were coming from everywhere around the world. There was people from Brazil, there's people from Japan, Korea, China, Canada. It's such a vibrant community who just happened to be there in Egypt together with us at that particular day. After dinner, we migrated to the campfire, and I was expecting that there would be some marshmallows, but the guides didn't have marshmallows.
We should have brought some ourselves because he was so disappointed.
Yes, but they had tea, so they were cooking the water on top of the campfire, and it was serving hot tea to us. It was piping hot, it was delicious. It's pretty good.
We were chatting around the campfire, but halfway through, we decided to abandon the campfire and just head out to walk around, enjoy the stars, and take some photos.
Being away in a place that doesn't have light pollution is such a rare thing for us.
It's about 9 o'clock, we just had dinner. The moon is just amazing. It's half moon today, but we still can see a lot of stars in the sky. We took a lot of pictures just now, and it's just mesmerizing to say the least.
There's this scale called the Bortle scale. It ranges from 1 to 10, and on a perfect night like the one that we had that night, after the moon actually sets, it was like a 1 or a 2, which was like perfect darkness. So we could see so many stars in the sky, an occasional shooting star.
The best part is that the weather is perfect. It's not too cold, it's not too warm, and the gentle night breeze from the desert just makes everything so perfect.
Yeah, it's not like Manali where freezing.
I'm so glad that the clouds cleared up. Tonight is going to be awesome.
When it was time for bed, we headed to the tent, but we did not sleep in the tent. We dragged out the sheets and we decided to just sleep outside, beside the tent, under the stars. It was one of the rare nights that I did not want to have a proper sleep. I wish I could wake up every single hour just to see how the stars and the formations are changing.
Next morning, we woke up early and saw the light progressing from dark to bright, but moments before we were just in awe with the night sky.
We counted a couple of shooting stars yesterday. It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful.
And after that, we were just standing there brushing our teeth and watching the sunrise. It was just wholesome.
It was only after the sun rose that we could take some footage of how our sleeping setup was like, because the night before it was way too dark to show anything.
So this is where we slept yesterday, under the skies.
We actually slept quite well actually. Don't you think so?
I think it must be the fresh air.
And then the guides prepared a simple meal for us, which was of course I don't know if my metabolism was higher when we were in the outdoors, in the desert or in the cold or whatsoever, but I just gobbled down everything for breakfast.
Thankfully they have coffee. That was the thing that I was most worried about. But they do have coffee.
We just had our breakfast, and breakfast consists of some eggs, some pita, some coffee and tea, and it was really filling. Overall, I think that the entire trip here has been just phenomenal. The guides really helpful and attentive to a lot of our needs. Such an incredible experience.
The most memorable part was sleeping under the stars last night. I'm so glad we chose to sleep outdoors on the sand instead of in the tent, because whenever I would wake up in the middle of the night, all I could see were stars every direction. Whether I was laying on my back, on my left side or my right side, there were stars everywhere. It's probably the most number of stars we've ever seen.
About 8 or 9 o'clock, we were off. We were going back to the HQ, and it was an hour and a half drive from there. We had lunch, and then another 6 hours back to downtown Cairo.
I kind of wish that they could pick us up at Cairo and then we would go for the tour and then they would drop us at Luxor. But unfortunately, it's a to and fro Cairo kind of situation.
And of course, in Egypt, like tipping is pretty expected. The tips that we paid would go directly to the guides themselves for all the work that they have done throughout the 2 days and 1 night. It is expected to tip about 10 to 15% of the cost. Was it worth it?
I would say definitely. I mean, if I were to forget about the amazing formations and the sandboarding and all that, just being able to sleep under the stars in a desert, it's really like so amazing.
Yeah, it's part of your bucket list for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
And we also went in a pretty good time as well, even though it's peak period for travelers into Cairo, but it was pretty decent temperatures and we're able to sleep outdoors without having to be too hot or too cold. Now, the next question is it safe?
For me, I definitely felt safe because we were in a huge group of about 30 to 40 people.
And there are a lot of solo travelers as well in the group. There might be some animals around, but like they were not posing any threats to us at all. In fact, we saw a sailor beetle, also known as the Egyptian beetle, but it's like so small and we only saw that in the morning. Honestly, they're not after you, they're after our number 2s.
The last question, the most important question that probably everyone wants to know. How do you do your pee and poops?
Yeah, your number 1s and number 2s, right? So how do you do that?
Well, it's nature.
Yeah, it's nature. Once you get there, you'll figure out how to do that by yourself. So I guess that is it for this video.
Catch our last video where we visited the Great Pyramids of Giza.
And catch our next video, we'll be going to Luxor. Bye bye!